Hi, my name's Karen Reissmann. I'm a health worker from Manchester, and in the election for a new General Secretary for UNISON, I'm calling for a nomination and a vote for Paul Holmes from Kirklees. Paul Holmes I've known a long time, and to be honest, he's a working class man who stands up for working class people. He's always the first person to come and offer support, whether it's a picket line, whether it's a racist attack, whether it's the health service workers who were fighting over pay last weekend. Paul Holmes is going to be there, and he's going to be backing you, and he's going to be supporting you. But more importantly, Paul Holmes is somebody who recognises that Unison needs to change. We cannot carry on the way that we are. We have a government that's already spent the last 10 years trying to trash public services, cutting our pay, cutting our terms and conditions, privatising as much as they can get away with, and cutting the amount of money and resources that they allocate to public services. All of that has to end. But we know that with the COVID crisis and the impact that that's had on the economy, that just like they did in the banking crisis, they're going to come and for us. They're going to come and expect ordinary working class people to pay. And we need a union that's not just going to leave people to fight that individually, that's not going to leave you to fight it branch by branch, but it's going to try and coordinate the whole union. We're 1.3 million members, and we have to start acting like one. We have to start to make sure that we try and coordinate as much as possible the action that we need to stop this government in the tracks. They weren't elected to cut the health service. They weren't elected to cut our pay. They weren't elected to trash councils or to stop the services. They weren't elected to make millions of people unemployed, and they weren't elected in order to carry on making those people who are unemployed beg for the few pence that they give them. They were elected on lies, and I think that we need to call them to account. Our union needs to start fighting as if it had 1.3 million members, and it needs to change. It needs to start removing the blocks that make it harder to fight. It needs to have much more open democracy where it allows people to debate properly what we want to do without fear of retribution. It needs to support branches and members who want to fight. It needs to take a principled position against the racism, the sexism, the homophobia, the disabled sort of attacks, all those things that divide us. It needs to take a principled position of opposition and stand up and say we will not allow the Tories to do any more of that. The Black Lives Matter movement showed, right, that people in this country and across the world have had enough. Paul Holmes is a man of principle. He's a man who says what he does and then he goes and does it. I think he's shown in his branch in Kirklees that he can defend his members. He's shown he can organise. He said he's not going to take the 140,000, but is going to live on an ordinary worker's wage. And I think we have to say, do we want Unison to carry on the way it is, or do we want change? And if you want change and you want a union that fights and defend its members, support Paul Holmes.